You have to go night-night. Yeah. It's bedtime. Can Daddy do his video? Thank you. What's cracking, everybody? This is Josh from Practical Theism. So if you haven't seen The Greatest Showman, you absolutely need to see it. We saw it in theaters, my wife and I, and it's a phenomenal film, and there are so many really interesting themes in it, and everything from the music to the dancing to the story arc, everything from the beginning to the end, how it all played together. I just thought it was really well done. And you know what's really interesting, as I found on my journey as being a Christian, that when you start to study certain things, or things start to come into your life, you all of a sudden start to see them everywhere. Have you ever noticed this? Like when you get a new car, like you get that new Honda Civic, all of a sudden everybody seems to have a Honda Civic. You just start noticing it everywhere. Or when you get a new pair of shoes that you think is like super unique, you go out and then all of a sudden it's like everybody has the same shoes or the same clothes or whatever it is. It's really kind of an interesting thing. So what I have found is that the deeper I kind of go into my Christian faith and my Christian walk is I start to notice these Christian themes emerging everywhere, especially in like the media. I see it a lot in the movies and in the theater. I see a lot of these themes starting to come out and emerge in ways I never even noticed or paid attention to before. Think of something like Wonder Woman, for example. I haven't done a review on that, but there are so many like really Christian themes in that. So the movie, The Greatest Showman, it just came out on DVD. We got it on Blu-ray. My wife knows that if she's gonna buy a movie, she's gotta buy it on Blu-ray. I am a high quality fanatic, so I really, really wanna make sure that I'm getting Blu-ray, especially with something that's got a lot of digital effects in it. I just think it adds to the experience. So she picked it up. We've been watching it a couple times over the past couple days, and it still just hits home. It's so good. But I've noticed that there are these really kind of Christian themes that emerge from it. And I wanted to chat about those. The very first one that I've seen is the dignity of the human person, particularly shown through the acceptance of the misfits and the different racism points of the time. So the story follows P.T. Barnum as he sets up pretty much the circus and going through his life story and how he went from kind of this very impoverished state all the way into all this money and this wealth that he developed from putting together basically the show of what he would call freaks, or this show of like misfits, the people that society and culture just kind of didn't want. He brings them together and puts together really a collective group that is able to put on a show and entertain people. And the first theme that I've really identified that immediately stuck out was this idea of the dignity of the human person. And you see this in particular with the bringing together of all these misfits, and P.T. Barnum he doesn't see these misfits, he doesn't see these disfigurements, he sees the beauty of these people. And there's a beautiful scene where he's a teenager, his father dies. Spoiler alert, his father passes away and he's trying to scrape and scrounge for bread, for food. So he picks up a bread, he runs, and then the shopkeeper kind of gets him and pulls the bread and pushes him into the trash cans. And this person walks up and hands him an apple. Think of like the old witch from like Snow White who hands an apple, right? This person has a wildly disfigured face, but smiles with a smile that just gives you that peek into her soul. And that's the first encounter he has in the movie with this kind of crowd of misfits, or these people that don't belong or fit into society. And then fast forward, people want something sensational or interesting as he's putting his show together. And so he brings together and goes out on this search for the most extravagant, extraordinary people that he can find and brings them together. And there's another beautiful scene when he's talking to the bearded lady who has a absolutely stunning and phenomenal voice. And she's very, very embarrassed because of her beard, right? And he goes up to her and she's embarrassed. He's saying, "Go away, don't talk to me." And he says, I don't see that at all. I see something so beautiful. And it's just, I think, just a great point to the Christian idea in the Christian philosophy of just the dignity of the human person, regardless of external appearances, regardless of what's going on externally, that every human, because they were created in the image and likeness of God, they have a dignity about them. And that goes with all creation. So this idea of the dignity of the human person is permeated. It's all throughout this movie. The second concept that I saw all throughout the movie was that joy comes from the simplicity of life, not being tied down to material things. So you see this as he goes through his journey. He starts off with nothing, literally nothing. I mean, he comes from a dad who was a suit maker, and they were really poor growing up. And all he would do is he would make suits for these really wealthy families. And he's got this thing for the girl, and she's from a really wealthy family, and he comes from nothing, and his dad passes away, and he's begging on the streets. So he literally is rock bottom, and he goes through his life as he grows older. He marries the girl of his dreams who comes from a wealthy family. And she doesn't need the wealthy things in life, right? But that's something that he always struggled with because he never had the finer things, and he always wanted to give his wife the finer things. And you see these beautiful moments of them on top of a rooftop, and it's them two and their little girls. And he doesn't have a lot, and a good example of this is his little girl's birthday. And he brings home all of his things. He just got let go. He got fired because his company closes down. So he's got a suitcase with a bunch of stuff in it. And he just puts together something and makes it something beautiful using his imagination. There's something so simple about how he views things and how his wife views things that I just found so refreshing. And it reminded me of this Christian idea of just the simplicity of life, that you want to turn away, in a sense, from material things because they can become a crutch. They can become this god, so to speak, that your life revolves around, and you're dancing around this altar of all these material things, which throws your life out of balance. Rather, God calls us to a focus on and a worship of Him, which brings things into right order. But when we focus on any material good in this world, that's when we start to see life kind of go out of place, and we start to see things get disfigured a bit. And he goes on this journey. P.T. Barnum goes on this journey, and then all of a sudden he gets really money hungry. He's having all this money that he didn't have before. And then he goes back, and then there's the circus is entirely decimated. The building's lit on fire and everything, and he literally is thrust back into nothing. But then he's got this family around him, this family of misfits that he's built and that he's cultivated. And they say, like, you still have us, like, we're here, family's here, just pointing to, like, family is the most important thing. Go back and, like, get your family. And so just this idea of the simplicity of life, not being attached to material things, but focusing on the love that's between you and other people, very Christian concept, and something that I found completely throughout the entire movie. And that leads me into the next thing, which is just recognizing that true happiness and joy, it starts with your family that's right in front of you. You don't need to go out and find it. It starts with the love that you share between you and the people that are around you. If you have a family, you're married, you have children, like, that's where it all starts. That's where you find true happiness. You don't find it in these material goods, such as money, such as pleasure, such as power, such as prestige. You find it in the people that are around you. And Carlyle, who's the kind of, he becomes like the apprentice to P.T. Barnum, and as he brings him in, and he's this famous playwright. He's got all the prestige, all the wealth, all the power, in that, the scene, the theater scene in there. And he gets brought on board this, and by the end, he goes through this transformation himself. And at the very end, after they're at their low again, he kind of steps out and he says, you know what? I had it all. I literally had it all, but it didn't mean anything as much as what everything that I have now is, and all the people around me. He falls in love with this girl who's in the show. And so it's just a beautiful depiction that true happiness and joy comes from those who are around you and the love that you share between them, not in these material goods. The next theme that I thought was really kind of cool is it plays into the Catholicity of Christianity. And it's the fact that your family isn't the immediate family that's just right here in front of you, but it's not necessarily just a distinction by blood, but the people who are around you and who you share that connection and that love with, and that fraternity with, if you will. And that familial relationship is very much a Christian concept as well, because we look at the Catholic Church, right? We look at the Catholicity, the universal, the Catholicos, the universal church of Christianity that is not barred by lines or race or location, but it's everywhere. Everyone is invited and brought into the fold of Christianity, into the body of Christ. And there are no distinctions barred, but we are family. I can go to my brothers and sisters in Africa. I could go to my brothers and sisters in China or anywhere in the world, and they are my brothers and sisters in Christ. And so this idea that family, while it can be immediately focused on like blood relation, it doesn't stay there. You can have family who is not focused solely on blood relation, but it's just the people that are in your direct sphere of influence that you have direct connection with. And those people can be constituted as your family. And I think that's such a beautiful concept. It's something that we see really depicted, especially in the Catholic or universal church of Christianity. It is a story of love and acceptance of who you are and those around you. That is where you find true happiness, when you love people just the way God created them. Again, I guess all these themes kind of tie in together, but it boils down to that. It's about love. And that's exactly what Christianity is about. It's about love. And while there are bad people in the world, there are people who like say they're Christian and they're not loving and they don't approach things with love. At the end of the day, they're going against the belief system itself, because Christianity is a belief system and a religion of love. God is love. Our very creator loved us into existence. And so everything that we have should ebb and flow with love, because we have that likeness created into our being. And the story was very much about that. It was about the material things, all of the goods of this world, everything that could come your way that comes with fame and fortune. That means nothing if you don't have love. It all starts with love. And so those are the things that just kind of stuck out to me in terms of these themes with The Greatest Showman. It's on DVD right now. Go check it out. I definitely recommend purchasing it, to be honest. I think it's a phenomenal movie. It's the one that you can really latch onto. It's a feel-good movie that's done, in my opinion, really well. It's got Hugh Jackman, Zac Efron, so guys that I just love watching. They're just so entertaining. And the music is absolutely phenomenal. I can't describe it enough. So definitely go check it out. If you have any questions, comments, or you found these themes both while you were watching it, drop them in the comments below. Definitely hit the like button, pound that subscribe button so you can get more of this awesome content, and we'll definitely catch you next time.